And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot. I guess this week we all do. Like we've got reason to for first time in a little while. Two wins after our previously canceled, rescheduled game that's been rescheduled for July. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for July. Well, we should also mention first two wins since what, September?
Yeah, since the chat game.
Yeah, because I went to that chat game and we did not win that one. I will confirm we did not win the game against Chattanooga at Chattanooga.
Also, I don't know if we introduced ourselves yet, but it seems like we have some dueling people here today between Ted Lasso and Nate the Great.
Come on, you Emmas.
I'm not over here blowing bubbles. I'm just over here believing. Just belief.
You believe in belief?
I believe in belief. But let's get to some serious Oklahoma here, because it's hard to lie about the news. Barbecue sauce. Trying to be civil with a Hammers fan. I mean, he's not even a Hammers fan. That's the worst part.
I just bought the jersey because I liked it.
Hey, oh yeah.
It's a 125-year anniversary jersey.
I don't care. That's not a good enough reason.
That's for Chris Headley, okay?
We, for the first time this season, got goal of the week. Noe Mesa's wonderful breakaway. Technically it was assisted, but it almost seemed like it probably could have gone to an unassisted goal with as much as he broke through the midfield or broke through their defense. I think it's well deserved. That was a fantastic goal. I shouted at a fancy restaurant. I was watching that on my phone. I got a lot of weird stares from my family and everybody else there.
That's a goal of the week in like any league at any level, because
that was 100%. That was 100% like what we've been like expecting to see from Noe. Which also put him on team of the week. With Lexi, I'm bad. Last name Swahi. Yeah. So Lexi Swahi, who has been holding it down in the back line. We talked about that last week. We've talked about that a lot offline. That he's really stepped up into a solid leadership role there on the back line. We'll get into Palacios, who I also think is doing very solidly back there, but we'll get into him when we talk about Fuego, because
Fuego.
We had some bench players as well, didn't we, Kyle?
We did. Shido got on the bench. So did Luis.
Luis definitely earned that. Shido had a couple like solid looks, but I mean, this wasn't like an outstanding. Like, it's not that it wasn't an outstanding game for him. It was a shutout, but
it's just kind of solid. Yeah,
the defense didn't really make him work too much.
Yeah, but I think Shido's. When you've been you're the reigning goalkeeper of the year, and you've been as consistent as he has been.
Yeah,
it's almost like if they can't find another goalkeeper, they just throw him on the team.
I'd also probably say some of that was a nod for his performance against El Paso.
Well, and that's kind of what I think is for our third bench player, which is Steven Dos Santos. Because even though he did come in and get a goal, he definitely was better against El Paso. So that might be that too.
He was. He definitely was good against El Paso. Well, their team also released beer. What was it? Buo Brew.
They did.
Alliteration, but not the greatest name out there. It should have been Beery McBeerface, as everything should be.
It's got some great branding, though. It
looks really
nice.
The logo, which I think Jack designed again, and that's through Pint 9 out there. Beautiful label there. Definitely a tasty beer. It seems very familiar to me. But you actually went to the beer release, which we're recording this Thursday, so that was tonight.
I did. It was nice. There were a decent number of people there. And yeah, they had a Stein holding contest. JR won.
Proud of him. He's been working on it.
Dom was there. Dom was there, just kind of dressed very casually. It took me a little bit to actually realize that he was there. I was like, oh wait, yeah.
Listen for the British accent,
yeah,
leaking through.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was really nice. It was just a nice kind of chill event.
Any insights from Dom that Rich wasn't able to glean after the Open Cup, or we weren't able to find? Did you hound him, harass him?
I might have gotten some things from Peter more than Dom, but I don't know how much we want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, secrets. Secrets don't make friends, so we're not going to make any friends today. All right, let's jump into the El Paso game. I tasked each of you, because I was on planes all day, with picking a match. I don't know who grabbed El Paso.
Kyle, were you at that one?
Oh, I was there. I was going to talk Fuego, but yeah, no, I could talk El Paso instead.
I could talk El Paso because I watched it on the YouTube stream.
Yeah. Well, I can mention this for El Paso. I was there, and they weren't selling beer, so I remember it. Yeah.
That was a lovely Wednesday night, which we're still in the height of, as a Catholic, we're in CCD season. So, and my wife and I are catechists, so we can't miss those days, right? So
upgraded for parking guard.
That was a long time ago. That was when I first joined the pod. So yeah, I watched it on the El Paso, their stream on YouTube, because I didn't quite understand this. Maybe you guys can explain it. Apparently the away team was allowed to do the YouTube stream if it wasn't being televised or something. I don't know.
So, because as we teased last week, we were going to try to do one, and we reached out to the team because the team had announced that there would not be a stream of it. And apparently there was communications from the Federation about what was required. And when the team had reached out, they were unable to meet the qualifications, and then El Paso was able to film it with a phone. So I think it had more to do with who you know versus what you do.
If they were filming that with a phone, that was the best. Like, I thought I was watching an ESPN Plus stream because it was about the same quality of camera.
I mean, so that's not saying anything.
I didn't see the camera. It had to have been on the scoreboard. So fun fact about Creighton right now, they're doing work on their big scoreboard. So they had to roll a scoreboard in that was sitting at the halfway line.
No. So starting lineup, we had started Moeller, Sawahi, Palacios, Shaft started. JP, Connor, Luis, Gallardo, Dos Santos, and Meza. This is what you guys are talking about with Dos Santos. He kind of, from what I could tell, he was pretty much bullying their back line the entire match. Part of it is he is just a massive man. And I would tell him that to his face and not mean it as an insult. He is just a big dude.
Well, he wasn't the tallest guy there. They were a tall team against us. We're a tall team, and
I mean, you say that they had a couple subs that were not that much though, and they looked it.
The ones they started against us were definitely. gifted in the height range.
So before we talk about the actual match, here's one thing I will say. I enjoy when it's a local broadcaster and somebody that knows the team really well. What I will say is if that guy was Union Omaha's, I would not want to watch a whole lot of our streams because that guy had zero personality. It was very like low key, and I don't know if it was because he was watching it a different place and trying to watch their stream at the same time or what it was. But the thing I enjoyed about though, and that I wish we got a little bit more of with ESPN Plus or if we had a local team, is he was referencing matches from last year. He was referencing matches from even this season so far to just compare to how even we were playing against them versus other teams.
So we kind of get that, like not a guy on site, obviously, not like you have with North Carolina or Charlotte, I believe also, or like you get with Ross for Greenville as a color commentator. But whenever we have Donnie Barnes call one of our games, it definitely feels a little bit more there. So, no, I very much agree. Like you get the insights, you get the looks there. Having a guy like Donnie on the ESPN Plus broadcast has definitely helped us. I think last year we haven't had a whole lot of broadcasts so far this year, so curious to see how it rolls.
It's nice when I think that's the kind of the advantage of a championship is the championship teams tend to have their own team. Yeah, because the money. I totally agree. It's a money thing, but they tend to have their own team, their own guys, and so that intimate level of knowledge of the team and sometimes insider knowledge that they let squeak through is nice to see. Those guys also tend to at least get to see some level of practice. So they're not completely shocked when there's like some kind of a set piece design or something. They're like, oh yeah, they've been working on this all week. So
or at least they're talking to the coaches before the match, that sort of stuff.
Well, and to Kyle's point, some of these subs and some of these guys that started for them are not regular starters. I think they had a few teenagers out there, and
they were tall.
You could tell this guy. Yeah, well, they were, and some of them weren't. But you could tell that their announcer looking at a sheet, like a roster, trying to figure out who these guys were. He had known who was going to be playing. He knew how to pronounce their names. He knew some about them. And so it helped with the flow. So when these guys came in, it wasn't weird. He's like, oh, yeah, they've been working with the youth team or they've been doing this. And so it's just kind of that extra level that way. But overall, if we had YouTube broadcasts like this more frequently, I don't know that ESPN Plus has that much of an advantage over a guy with an iPhone 14 following the match.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what setup it was. I just heard it remarked by somebody that they were set up with a guy with a phone, and that may have been it's entirely possible the way cameras are going with phones. But with that game, we played physical, but I think the reactions of it reactions to our physicality were significantly overblown and surprisingly well managed by the ref. I'm particularly going to shout out the fourth official. I think the fourth official was a fantastic ref. If you weren't there and you don't know what I'm talking about, friend of the pod, Ray Shirley was the fourth official for that match.
Yeah,
he was. And I don't know if that's
after the game.
I don't know if that was his first professional match he was reffing, but I got a few photos of him, kicking out or getting the game ball, everything before the match, and I'm saving those for his when he finally gets to the MLS level or CONCACAF level, and pull those out.
turning the substitution board, turning it one way, and then when he turned it back the other way, it flicked off. So there was nothing on it when he turned it back to the one side.
No, that wasn't that it was flicked off. It's Union Omaha sideboard only works one way. Third division soccer.
No, I think it fully turned off as well.
Congrats to Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's huge. Great local soccer move. But the way El Paso was reacting to physicality was overplayed and rehearsed, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
We adapted well, but when you've got, like I was talking about, guys who are passionate like JP, like Palacios, like Dos Santos, and they have the physicality to match them, like I'm surprised we didn't end that game with a red, the way some of that embellishment was going.
I maintain that there's going to be multiple matches where we don't finish with Palacios on the field. And not because he was subbed out.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
It's going to happen big time.
But a dominant performance against a higher division side.
Especially second half.
Yeah.
Second half, we looked really good.
Shaft in for Dion. I think Dion's dealing with a broken hand right now, so there's some injury playing in there. But I think he looked fantastic. It definitely earned his spot out there. There were a lot of extremely positive things I was seeing from the guys out there. The subs came in, were extremely effective.
Well, speaking of, Joe Brito came in as a sub and pretty quickly had a really beautiful ball for our second goal.
Wait, do you mean Joey B?
For first, yeah, I mean, Brito.
We're gonna call him Joey B now.
Joey B.
But we have to separate between Joey B and Joey G. Is that what it is?
I feel like we have to go with like a more we know him sort, since there's a great article
a year.
Yeah, he's been on the pod. Rich has written an article with him. If that's come out yet, I believe that's out. If it's not, it will be. Yep. This whole year has been a blur. Check out the blog, because if you subscribe to that, you'll know probably about as much as we do. With John,
you'll know about it before Twitter.
No, I mean, with John writing some great stuff, with Rich writing some fantastic stuff. We're working on getting some more writers in. Kyle eventually is going to have something ready.
Hopefully after this week.
Yeah, Brian's working on some stuff. Like there's a lot of content coming through the blog, so make sure you're subscribed to that. Would we call that a dominant performance, though, by Union Omaha?
In the second half, I would maybe say that. I don't think you can say it about the first half.
Okay. Yeah, like that's kind of where I feel. Honestly, Shido started on the opposite end from the supporters' end in the first half. And I think with the supporters behind him in the second half, he was fired up. Like, he was like hyping the guys up more. I think there was a lot more command coming off that back line. The subs, made some fantastic. Dom's command or like use of subs in that game was fantastic.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell from our first match against Forward that he's learned a lot about how to use those. In the first match, it was 3 subs and 3 windows, and who knows?
I also think our guys have shown him more. Like since not getting the second you're have a professional match and you're not making the bench, or you're not getting a starting spot, you're gonna try harder. And maybe some of these guys were like borderline anyway, but seeing them out there, seeing them get out there, show what they're capable of, and some of these guys are breaking into the starting lineup. I really, really admire what Dom was able to do, because we had obviously Brito came on, Steinwasser came on, Shivani was on at one point.
Dolabella.
Dolabella came on because we didn't do a halftime sub, so we used. Did we have four?
We had
five full subs.
5.
So the other thing I think we need to shout Dom out on is that he probably had a different plan going into a 3-game week before that game at Knox got rescheduled, got canceled, and ultimately rescheduled. So
yeah,
if this was actually the 11 that he had thought of going in, because I think a lot of the guys that started this match were ones we talked about starting against Knox, getting shafted, and they're doing some of that stuff. And we may know if we ever asked Dom, but it's almost like he shifted some of that to the Open Cup match to be able to give some of these guys that experience.
Well,
but that's masterclass, because if you're expecting league, Open Cup, league, and you're thinking about rotations and how much travel would have been involved with that, because if you think about it, we're going to Knoxville, then we're coming back, to Omaha, and then we're going to California. So you got guys traveling quite a bit in that week span.
So, as kind of summarizing on this, well, wrapping it up because we got to move into Fuego here because we got a lot to cover. As Kyle and I said, and we've all discussed, Dom knowing El Paso, I think, showed that lineup that came out and the subs that were made were very much reactionary to what El Paso was going to throw at us. And I don't think if he'd known the starting 11 they were starting, that he would have started the same 11 that he did. Yeah. Not to say that the 11 he started weren't great players, but I think he would have taken a different tactical approach.
Yeah. Before we move on, though, we got to talk about Palacios' goal, because I like dirty goals that just like the ball's bouncing around. And
that just fits ball, Junior.
Yeah, it's just like it's ping pong soccer, which is always fun. Like that ball bounced around, falls to his feet, and you just see those sometimes where, had that been a league goal, I think it would have been up for goal of the week just because of how chaotic it was in front of him for him to unleash it and get it in the goal. Not to take anything away from SDS and his goal, but it was like Palacios. Those are those fun goals that you're watching the sport and you're like, okay, it looks like defense is about to clear. Oh crap! It just went in the back of the net. What just happened there?
Well, also, FOTMob has him as Duba.
Okay, thank you, because that confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, that was very confusing.
So I don't know if that's a nickname or what, but I think Rich has an interview coming out next week with Steven. So hopefully that can clear it up a little bit. Again, subscribe to the blog. Find out before we do when things are getting out there.
Can we start our official petition to get FOTMob to call Palacios El Buffalo then?
Or is it El Buffalo? Either way.
Yeah, if it's in Spanish,
yeah.
It's my only language, so I do the best I can.
Any event, speaking of Spanish, Fuego.
Fuego. Yeah.
One hell of a segue.
Yeah, I'm not known for my actual segues. I just make them.
So I think we might have only made the one sub. I think Burrito came in for Dos Santos, and I think that might have been the only sub that we made. Except that Burrito wasn't starting up top. Gallardo was.
Yeah.
It's a very fluid system, but that was still very interesting to see. And yeah, it was a very back and forth game. If I look quickly, go quickly here. I believe their XG was so much better than ours. Their XG was 1.77, and ours was 0.81.
Shows how much XG matters.
It shows how well our defense and our keeper played.
That also goes to show how hard Noe's goal was, because that definitely affected our XG.
That was a very small opportunity goal.
Oh yeah.
Which that happened right at the end of the half, and then starting the second half, we made an interesting change, which was that Shaft had picked up a yellow in the first half, so we brought on Master Antonio and shifted Palacios right.
Club debut. That's his club debut. Yeah.
Yep. Unless he was there unless he was one of the ones to get in at the end of the other game.
Well,
I can check.
The Open Cup. I think both Luca and
he was not in the Open Cup. So that was his club debut. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. First half was a half. Yeah.
We got a bit lucky on the breakaway, and then Noe did something amazing.
Noe got goal of the week. Noe. First half was Noe. Second half was we got real lucky that Palacios did not get a red card.
Yeah.
Let's also just talk about how lucky we are that guys can't finish in League One. Because there was
there's a website for that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Even the one, the guy was on a breakaway down the right, and it went across the entire goal. Shido didn't even get a glove on it, and he missed everything. Literally everything.
That was a couple that was in the first half too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple in the first half, a couple in the second half, and then right at the end where when you extend your arms like that, that's almost always goal.
I think I was rewatching the match this morning, and I want to say that was 82nd minute. We scored in the 88th.
Yeah.
And it was a very soft fall, but I have seen less called a penalty and a red card in this league.
I don't know if it would be a red card. I think it could be a yellow.
Well, he was last man back.
I don't know if was he actually last man back?
He was technically last man back there.
Well, there's that, but also
they try not to do double jeopardy if they can, though.
But you also got anytime a guy's arms are fully extended in any type of foul, the fact that those don't get called is shocking. I mean, that's the level that Luke's coaching, that I helped coach with my daughter, 10U. If your arms are fully extended and you've touched another player, they're calling the foul. Now with youth leagues, they're not calling it a yellow necessarily because they're trying to teach them. But you're taught that from a young age. If you shove another player, that's not how this sport is meant to. This isn't American football where you're knocking guys down to that level. I mean, full on shoving people down.
I tell them not to do it with their hands. Do it with your elbows.
But even in American football, if you shove a guy both hands straight out and they're on the sideline, you can get a flag for that, for unsportsmanlike conduct. That's a universal thing of you don't put your hands on people, and you definitely, if you do, you don't put your arms completely out. Junior got away with one. It is what it is.
I think we're learning why he's called El Buffalo or El Buffalo, which is fantastic animal, very strong,
especially for this state.
But if you've ever been to one of the Western National Parks that has bison, you see the videos saying why you should stay away from them, and tourists getting gored.
People are dumb.
Yeah, solid defending throughout, but that worried me a lot. Dos Santos's goal, on the other hand, gave me a lot of hope.
Great pass by Steinwasser too.
So good.
After that pass, other teams are going to respect that kid. Because did you watch their defenders? Every one of them was backing off as he was dribbling up the field. And I'm watching at home going, what the hell? Like, I am a Union Omaha fan, and I'm yelling at Fuegos defenders. What are you doing right now? Because I see Steven is right. All these guys are backing off Steinwasser, and he's just dribbling it up the field until he sees the opening. And what a pass. Holy crap. Like, that was beautiful.
No, I was that goal was everything I was hoping to see from those two. That breakaway, though, I think it said more to our fitness level than it did to Fuego's defense. Sure. Like our subs or sub, I thought we had multiple in that game.
Yeah, no, it was so. Yeah, so Dos Santos came on about 60. Steinwasser and Dolabella came on about 70. We essentially replaced our whole front line. And then once we scored, Milanese came on to kind of shore up the back.
Okay.
And in his club, in his debut.
Yeah. And our sub management there, what should have been a very busy week that didn't turn into as busy. Granted, Fuego also had they had a much busier week than we did. 3 games in the course of that week, plus a Wednesday game this week.
Well, they had their Open Cup game as well go into extra time against Monterey Bay.
Which Kyle, both you and I said ours was going to go into extra time, and we were wrong.
We were very wrong.
Very wrong on that. I am so glad we were.
Yeah.
Proud of you both for your accountability.
Hey, I mean, if there's anything about this pod, we're at least accountable.
Yeah, I mean, we said that, like, we saw each other real quick right after the game, and we were both like, man, we were so wrong.
Any major takeaways?
Like that. Steiny needs to keep passing like that.
Yeah. Well,
I would
he's
say
going to grow. He's a first-year pro, or like it.
Well, he was indoor before, but yeah.
First-year outdoor pro.
Yeah. When it matters. Oh.
Yeah.
My only takeaway is that Dolabella is a lot like me, and it seems, in high school basketball, where I can't quite stop myself all the time. Because he did it on Wednesday against El Paso, where he just kind of ran into someone and got a foul. That's what he got his yellow card for against Fuego. He just kind of couldn't stop himself and ran into a person. Like, I totally get it. I'm a tall guy, but man,
There are 2 types of Brazilians: the ones with fancy footwork and the ones that are just going to run you over.
Yeah, but generally the second one, they're not, players that play up top or in attacking mid. They're generally guys that play like defensive mid or defense for Brazil.
I mean, he's a 9 that plays in the midfield. I'm still very confused by that.
I don't care. That kid's amazing. I love watching him.
Oh no, he's fantastic. That was a great pickup from the disintegration of Jamie Vardy's Rochester former Rhinos.
Yeah. Is he our Luis Mendez from Mighty Ducks 2?
Probably worse than.
That was a kid that went really fast but couldn't stop.
Because here's something I will say. We had so many yellow cards in that game.
Oh my god.
We had, what was it, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What that ended up doing.
That was with pro.
But what that ended up doing, that as long with we had a ton of fouls as well, just a ton, is those yellow cards and those fouls made Fuego, just pretty much from that game alone, I mean, maybe from the previous Fuego games, but the team that we have the most fouls with and the most yellow cards with per game.
I mean,
and I think it was mostly on that game.
That game got physical, and it was well deserved. Like, when you talk about what feels like a rivalry game, Madison has evolved into that because it's just the ownership has forced it well enough. Greenville does
we also just don't play well against Madison. Like, our style had never really worked well against them.
Well, Madison doesn't play well against anyone, so what does that say about us?
They don't play well against Chicago House.
That's true. I mean, when was the last time they won a game? As of this recording on April the 13th, 2023?
Last year?
Madison games.
I believe it was August 24th, 2022.
Wow. Yikes. That's even worse than us. We were bad.
Yep. Okay. Takeaways from this game. Use the subs. Subs are good.
Not a lot of rotation. Again,
no,
it was 2 games, but not a lot of rotation, which is maybe something to keep in mind for this week when we have 2 games pretty quickly back to back.
Yeah. Yep. I think this goes to show though that we did not see a drop off and maybe even saw an increase in play with subs, where what Peter talked to us about with preseason is 2 starters in every position.
Mm-hmm.
As these guys are healthy and you can rotate guys in, if you are essentially replacing like for like, and there's not a drop off in quality, then we're going to win more games like we did against Fuego, where we can score a goal late and pad our lead and do those things. Because you could throw a guy like Steinwasser on, who physically you look at the kid and he doesn't look like he should be as good as he is at the sport, especially playing as forward. And you throw a kid like that on who has fresh legs, who can run at people and have the vision he has, and it's going to cause problems for teams. The reason Fuego gets physical is because, especially I think now with Dom here, is both teams are going to play very open styles. But being open for us and having the guys that can come in and fill in those same roles, it's going to be beneficial for us as the season wears on. We're going. I don't know. I'll eat something I don't normally eat if we don't beat Madison this season, because I think now that he's seen Madison and this team gels. What?
Quiche.
You think I don't eat quiche?
Well, not often.
Oh, fair. Okay. I think Dom will figure it out, and I think we have a style that if we're gelling and things are going in the open play, Madison's a team we can beat. I think them being the opening game was tough because that's just, no matter who's been their coach, that's been their style. Yeah. They're tough, they're physical, that's how they are. I think Dom is developing a more physical team that also plays open soccer, which is a dangerous team to play.
Yeah. Shaft starting. I think that needs to become standard. 100%. He had a hell of a game both games. His finishing, his crossing is good, but still needs some work. There were a couple of wayward passes, but it's still. I think he has such a high ceiling, and we need to exploit that as much as possible. Defense needs to. Killer. Our defense is good, but needs to be less physical at times.
Hey, 2 clean sheets.
I know, but 2 clean sheets with either yellow card accumulation or red cards.
Yeah,
like
I am starting to keep track of yellow cards now as well. That's something I guess haven't been doing last year. So
I think we definitely need to, because it's
because we're collecting them like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We are
Gotta
indeed.
catch them all.
Fun. Just quick question. Who do you think is the person who's had the most yellow cards for us ever?
I mean, is it Devin Boyce or JP?
He was my guess if it's ever.
It's JP. Yeah. 16 yellows.
Well, Devin Boyce had the one where he was being subbed on, but somehow the yellow card graphic went on the board.
Hey,
but
wait,
let's.
Didn't Connor have a really nice stat this
Yeah, like what
week?
stats do we have?
That's true. This was Connor's 69th straight appearance for us.
Nice.
Very nice, yes.
Very nice. Dude, you know what? What's crazy about that is Connor's brought in, almost basically immediately made captain. He's been here, what, 2 seasons at the start of a third.
Mm-hmm.
And nearly 70 straight games he has played for this club. And not to say that Connor's old, because I'm older than Connor. But
I'm older than Connor.
Yeah, but for a guy that in sport in general, considered at the end of his career or going towards the end of his career, it's something to be said that the guy's had 69 straight starts for any professional level.
I mean, if he decided to come play in America, he'd kill it here.
America.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's
take
move on to some prognosticating. Let's just talk out of our asses for the next 10 minutes or so about what we think is going to happen against North Carolina.
I do want to mention one thing first about the game. One, it's an afternoon game again, just to remind, because I couldn't remember if it was an afternoon or an evening game. And then 2, again, we're going to have real nice weather right before the game, and then it's going to dip on the day.
Well, it's 80 degrees today, going to be like 80-ish tomorrow. North of Omaha is burning. And
south of Omaha was for a while too.
I flew in, and the wind had thrown the fire across the river, which that was fun. Keep your fires to yourselves, Nebraska.
No, we share.
But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting weather-wise, because that's been one of the biggest challenges with this season so far, attendance-wise. Has been the weather has not been agreeable. I don't think our players are going to be affected one way or the other. I think they're resilient, but yeah, definitely getting that home field advantage on this, and it's going to be better than against Madison. Madison supporters did show up with a busload of objective goons.
Early season though, next 2 matches, both top 6 matchups as the table stands today. So
especially Wednesday, which is against the current top team, who is admittedly they've all played more games than us, but still.
We're doing our tour of the Carolinas early.
That's perfect. We can get it out.
What do you mean? What do you mean tour of the Carolinas? 3 of the 12 teams are from the Carolinas.
So far.
True, we might get more.
North Carolina a little bit.
Yeah,
they brought in a lot of good pieces.
They brought in a lot of good pieces, but what are we really expecting from them? Yeah.
What? They're almost perfect right now. They're 1-1-1 with a 0 goal differerential because they've scored 3 and given up 3. So I mean,
but who have they played so far?
Well, they lost 1, drew.
Let's see. They lost to Tormenta. They beat Lexington, and they drew Charlotte.
And Tormenta's not been that good this year.
And they lost to Loudoun in the Open Cup in between there. So.
Wait, what did they lose?
No one should be losing to Loudoun.
Tormenta was just 0-1, 1-0.
Yep.
I think I watched some of their game. I don't remember if it was against Lexington or Charlotte. But I think Holiday is starting for them more in goal from what I saw there. So I mean,
if you got a kid like that, why wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah, as long as he doesn't give in any more keeper goals, he's pretty solid. So I totally get them wanting to continue to improve him. But then their front line, you have Alex Anderson who came in, right?
Yeah.
You have Rafa Mens again. You still have Shaq Adams there. So like they're dangerous up top.
Yeah. Like they do have a lot of quality pieces, but I don't want to write them off.
Well, how much is catching them early at home going to be a good thing? Because this is that team those are all names that we know and recognize in this league for the past 4 seasons.
But how many names do we have on our team that we know and recognize?
Well, I'm also saying though, like I think Dom's found a way to gel us quicker.
Yeah.
But if Carolina finds a way to gel, I think that they're going to stay top 6, no problem with that type of a lineup.
Also worth saying, it's pretty well proven that if you win an Open Cup game against a higher division side, you gel quicker.
Very true.
Which North Carolina has not done, but we did.
Yeah. North Carolina lost to Loudon people. Who no longer is associated with DC United, but they still are.
Well,
Loudon.
is still associated in some extent, but is no longer like directly owned.
Yeah.
I think it's like minority.
It's more like
they did not want to have DC's like farm club go into MLS next. Right. Jamie Vardy's MLS next.
Who?
Hey, well, you can see why.
All right. I think what are we expecting the lineup on this?
I don't expect much rotation. Like,
I don't either.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I can maybe see is if Master Antonio is back, but like even then, maybe I think you do that like against Charlotte, maybe instead.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Or do you get him more minutes against Carolina before you're playing the top team in the league?
Well, then I think you almost bring him on as a sub.
Well, yeah. I think you have to look at who's better defending Dane Kelly.
No one.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Junior Palacios. That's when
he's probably played Dane Kelly before, right? Because wasn't he was in championship, right?
Huh?
Master Antonio? He was with Tucson last year.
No, Palacios.
Palacios, yeah.
So he might have played Kelly.
He was at the Miami FC.
So then probably because they're Eastern Conference, and so would have. Well, I guess Dane Kelly's been all over, but I think he was in Pittsburgh most recently. Or am I wrong on that?
Well, let's find out.
Well, do we want to toss in a fun fact about Pittsburgh now?
No.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of brushed or passed over it with the news, and it came out the day after our last podcast. But former Union Omaha defender Ilal Ozumanu just signed with Pittsburgh. So good on him. Could really use him defending against Dane Kelly.
Although, let me tell you guys something. I just found an article from July 9th of last year when Pittsburgh played the Miami FC. Pittsburgh won 4-1. The picture that is the cover photo from Pittsburgh's newspaper is Junior and Dane challenging for a header that Dane won.
No.
I'm going to see if there's a scoring record on here in this article.
Oh, no.
So maybe Master Antonio starts that one.
Maybe. Who knows?
Or this is Dane. It's going to be Junior's first straight red for us.
I mean, maybe. I think the only question actually for the lineup is probably does Dos Santos start?
No.
And if he doesn't, is it Steinwasser, or do we see a Brito Gallardo situation like we did against Fuego?
I don't think you're going to see Noe rest a game.
Agreed.
I think we see Noe out there with Steinwasser on Saturday. And you save Dos Santos for a late sub and then starts on Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially looking ahead to U.S. Open Cup game against St. Louis coming up in a couple weeks. We need to start looking at, if we're trying to do a deep cup run again, what are available players and who's going to be healthy there, and start figuring that into the equation on our league games.
Yeah, because that's nice. Sorry, go ahead.
I think Dos Santos is a guy you choose to play against the top teams in the league because of his size and because of his ability. We haven't played well against Charlotte necessarily, in general. But if you're playing the top team, throw a big guy at him like that and see how they handle him, type thing.
Yeah.
Also want to update that score line because Dane Kelly actually didn't score against the Miami FC, so it wasn't like Dane was destroying Junior. He just won one header that I saw.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think a Noe Steinwasser pairing isn't bad. I thought they actually looked really well playing together in that Madison match. Plus, I think Steinwasser is a really good guy that if you can get him a start every now and then, but he kind of becomes a super sub in a way. He'll be happy with a few starts and getting some appearances that way.
I also think at this point, Noe's he's got his feet under him for this season. He's feeling like a seasoned pro. He's at least not a freshman. I think we're going to see more out of him.
That was his. He hit double digits in League One on that goal from Saturday. So
yeah.
And the only thing I was going to mention too is we have these two quick ones right in a row, but then we do have a week off before our Open Cup game. We don't play that next weekend.
Yep.
So
thank God.
That'll be really interesting to see that.
Two very tough matches against teams with a lot of experience. Do we worry about injuries?
I mean, I think you always got to worry about it, but the thing I look at from that standpoint is if you're playing two top 6 teams in our league going into an Open Cup game against an MLS squad,
somebody's getting a broken leg.
Well, no, I'm actually thinking more how much that prepares our guys to go into against an MLS squad.
Well, I'm just thinking of last year where we lost 2 guys to ACL, 2 guys who had a lot of potential throughout the course of the season. Luckily not, broken femur like we initially thought with Alex there last year, but something to definitely keep in mind.
Well, so here's the thing, though. We're getting challenged beforehand. It's not like we're playing the bottom of the table team like Greenville before going into that St. Louis match.
Oh, that was just so casual. It was perfect.
It was.
Thank you. I'm going to get a text about that one from a few friends in Greenville.
We don't have friends in Greenville anymore.
That's not true.
Not after that comment.
Not after that one, but that's okay. It's a team we all love to hate.
I guess I'll just mention. Oh, I don't know. I was just going to mention as far as injuries. Of course, I mean they could always happen. You hope they don't. But also, I feel like we've got a really strong bench this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had talked about, right? Kind of having 2 starters in every position.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't worry as much about the depth. I mean, if we get a ton of injuries, maybe, but if we have 1 or 2 here or there, I don't worry as much.
Well, my worry is more just going into an Open Cup match against what are they, top of the West? Are they in the West?
They're in the West. I don't know if they're top anymore.
That requires me to watch MLS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Who has Apple TV?
I mean,
I have Apple TV. I don't pay extra to watch MLS on it.
Oh, it's an extra thing. Jeez.
Yeah.
They're second in the West.
Second, yeah.
It's MLS.
Behind Hunter Fangmeier's new favorite MLS team, Seattle Sounders.
Yeah. They exist. Let's not talk about the Greenville equivalent for the West in the MLS. And
why? They just extended their coach. What a great
5
move
more years
by
or something
team.
like that.
Speaking of coaches,
let's jump into this. Let's jump into some score predictions
for North Carolina. Well, first of all, y'all are getting. I don't be at that one. My daughter plays at the exact same time, unless it rains. But I still won't be there because I gave my ticket to somebody. But
I don't think it will sell out, especially if it's raining.
That's fair. Perfect sweater weather game though for the theme.
Also worth noting, if you are a UNO student, the first 100 students to show their student ID get a free ticket. Yeah. So if it's raining, there you go, Ryan.
Well, I don't know if my sister and brother-in-law who are driving 5 hours to come see me would be really happy if I ditched them.
Bring them
along. They will be happy if I put it on TV.
All right.
North Carolina scoreline. Hang on. I'm going to do some you guys talk. I'm going to do some research. Hang
on. Let's see. I'm just going to quick check and look back at what their score lines have been so far this year.
That's not fair. That's what I was doing.
3-0.
Standard Luke call.
No. I honestly, after the past 2 performances, these guys a full week of rest, going in, like they've probably been playing outside. They've been probably meshing a little bit more as Omaha gets nicer. I think the chemistry is just going to be popping, and I could see easily a 3-0 victory for this.
Okay, so our 2 matches so far against them, we won 4-1, but they had 2 red cards. And then we drew 1-1. So because we've won 2 in a row, 2-0, I'm going with 2-0.
Oh, it is worth noting that PRO dropped their referee placements early this week, and the ref for this game is the same referee that ref for us Tucson at Morrison.
Question: do we end the game with more red cards than goals?
We
this
might.
Isn't Wimbledon versus, or this isn't Richmond versus
West Ham.
First West Ham.
No, because that's the other good point about the ref though, because there's he's given out a red card in like almost all of his last 8 games or something.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Terrible.
Another reason to maybe bench Palacios for this one.
Yeah. I feel like I'm becoming predictable as well, similar to Luke's 3-0. Because I think I might just say 2-1 again for this.
Yeah.
2-1 win.
I mean, I think we've shown the ability to deliver on that. So
if past performances are any indication, our highest ranked players, both times we played them, have been strikers, one of which was Noe Meza. So throwing that out there, Noe has a good record against these guys. The other one was Corey. So,
yep. Are you going to go with the safest USL League One scoreline? 1-1.
I said 2-0, baby. 2-0.
I'm proud of you.
It'll be our third 2-0 in a row. Let's do it.
All right.
Want to talk Charlotte?
With that predicted,
Charlotte.
No. We might have time to recap before Charlotte.
Brave, my friend.
If not, we'll leave it to the blog boys.
Blog boys.
It's gonna be tough though. It's gonna be a tough game. We'll see.
Upcoming things for Union Omaha.
More awkward
go meet
Open Cup
these Open. Well, we have the Open Cup draw. Open Cup game. Open Cup tickets are due to go on sale shortly.
I think it'll be start of next week from some conversation that was mentioned tonight. But.
Yeah. The team had tweeted earlier this week that end of this week, this being recorded on April 13th, but we know how Open Cup tickets get delayed. So keep an eye out for those if you are traveling. If not, that may not be broadcast anywhere because...
No, it is. It is. It was picked up as one of the games. So Bleacher Report is doing it.
Oh, perfect. So it'll either be on YouTube or one of their app or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
You can go meet the owl that Union Omaha sponsors at Fontenelle Forest on Friday, April 14th, between 1 and 3 p.m. at Fontenelle Forest. Apparently there's swag and potential to meet players. So if you're listening to this early in the morning, as hopefully it will be released, because if I don't pass out from travel and have it edited, go to that. Should be cool. Great excuse to get out there with the kids. Weather will still be nice. So do that and go to the game on. It will be the last game on that turf at Caniglia, as they will be replacing the turf after that date. I believe they start tearing out the turf on Monday. So a mildly historic game at Caniglia. Maybe you can get some extra or a piece of the turf if you go down there with a knife and cut it out.
We are not condoning that, though.
I'm just saying it's entirely a possibility if you were to do that. Maybe on Monday. Might be safer to do on Monday.
I can either deny or confirm that I had a piece of the goalpost from Memorial Stadium after the 1995 National Championship. It may or may not have been sawed off, and it was actually metal at the
time. All right. Either you have anything else that we've missed?
Gary did a little contest for the back of his away jersey, so I think didn't it say Mr. Owl?
Mr. Owl, yep.
And he claims that 23 is not for Michael Jordan, but it's for the year of this season, which cool. But go for Gary. I like that he's trying to engage the fans more. I love it.
Yep. Michael Jordan might be a little offended at that. He might have taken it personally.
It's 23. It's all good.
Yeah. Other than that, get out to what the team is trying to do off the field. Get out to the games on the field. Check out your watch parties wherever they may be. And one question for y'all: who gives a hoot? We do.
We do.
There you go.